A storm has just passed, and you can feel that what you endured was far from ordinary. Chosen ones, your spirit recognizes that something profound has shifted. A challenging cycle of lessons has come to an end, and you can't ignore the deep knowing in your heart that you're standing at the threshold of a brand new reality. This moment has been divinely arranged to move you forward, not just slightly, but into an entirely new path. Yes, the pain was real. Yes, the confusion felt overwhelming. But if you stay with me for just 12 minutes, you'll realize that every tear you've shed has been leading to a powerful revelation. Right now, you're about to witness unmistakable signs confirming that you are exactly where you're meant to be. Before we go further, know that this isn't just empty words. If you truly receive this message, evidence will begin to appear in your life. Unexpected opportunities, relationships mending overnight, and a surge of creative, unstoppable energy igniting within you. Right now, I ask you to like this message, subscribe, and comment 77 below to signal to the universe that you're open to this quantum shift. Then leave a second comment, ready for what's next in your own natural voice. By declaring it, you're setting a new wave of transformation into motion. If you've been praying for a sign, trust me, this is it. Chosen one, strap in because the timeline you've been dreaming about is finally aligning with your reality. Chapter 1. You felt the lesson. Crashing down. You couldn't outrun the lesson that God brought to your doorstep, and it likely felt like an avalanche of challenges you never saw coming. It was that one event that kept cycling in your mind, the conversation or conflict you thought you moved past, only for it to resurface at the worst possible time. It's like a broken record looping the same hurt, frustration, and self-doubt. But deep within you, there was a small voice crying out, "Why now?" That cry was the signal that the cycle had to end. This time, you couldn't just push it aside. You had to face it head on. The pressure was intense. Maybe you felt physically drained, unable to sleep, or had a constant knot in your stomach. Perhaps you noticed old patterns repeating, choosing the wrong relationships, clinging to toxic friendships, or sabotaging opportunities right when everything seemed to be looking up. You wondered if you were cursed or if life had some grudge against you. But the truth is, you're not cursed at all. You're chosen. And this final lesson had to crash down on you so you'd have no choice but to confront what's been holding you hostage in a lower version of your life. God allowed this season of your life to become almost unbearable because he knew you needed a drastic wake-up call. It's in the worst discomfort that we become willing to finally release our stubborn grip on the old ways. It's not punishment, it's preparation. You've been refining your faith, building spiritual muscle you didn't even know you had. If it felt like you had to look in the mirror and face parts of yourself you didn't like, that's exactly what was necessary to break the cycle. Now you stand on the other side of that chaos, wounded maybe, but also ready for something more. That readiness is your key to the next dimension. This lesson wasn't random. God orchestrated it to align you with a greater calling, a purpose that extends beyond your immediate concerns. You had to see who was really in your corner, who you could trust, and what you needed to leave behind once and for all. Don't be surprised if certain friendships vanished or long-standing issues suddenly erupted. That's the nature of deep transformation. It exposes everything that's inconsistent with your new timeline. But take heart, you don't carry those losses in vain. They've made room for new vibrant relationships and meaningful connections that will accompany you on your chosen path. So if you're feeling a blend of relief and exhaustion, that's confirmation. You've indeed closed out a major chapter. The weight you feel lifting off your shoulders is real. You're no longer the person who walked into this lesson. You're stronger, wiser, and infinitely more aware of what you will and won't tolerate in your life. This is your signal from God that it's time to move on. The door behind you has closed. Now a new timeline beckons, one where your faith, resilience, and lessons learned will open doors you once considered impossible to enter. Chapter 2. You're sensing the pull of a new timeline. You're noticing changes that it's hard to explain. Like suddenly, you have no desire to do things that once consumed your every thought, or people you clung to no longer hold the same sway over you. It's as though the grip of the past is loosening, letting you breathe again. This is the pull of your new timeline, a powerful gravitational force that is redirecting you toward your divine purpose. You sense it in the quiet hours of the night, that gentle nudge that says there's more for you out there. Maybe you tried to suppress it, worried about what others might think if you drastically change course, but you can't ignore it anymore. God has been sending you signs, not just through everyday coincidences, but in the shifts happening deep in your spirit. You may find yourself drawn to new ideas, discovering talents you never realized you had, or feeling called to leave environments that no longer align with your soul. This is no small thing. It's an invitation to step into a reality where your gifts are not just recognized but celebrated. The chatter of doubt in your mind might say, "Who am I to aim this high?" But let me tell you, if God planted that dream in you, it's because He already made a way for it to come true. This new timeline demands that you no longer settle for half measures. It demands a commitment from you, body, mind, and spirit. You can't just dip your toe in the water, you have to dive in head first. But here's the beauty. Once you do, the acceleration you'll experience is like nothing you've known before. Doors will open in places you never even knew existed. The right people will suddenly show up, and you'll realize they were being prepared by God to walk this road with you. It might feel disorienting at first, like you're trying to keep up with a pace faster than you're used to. But trust that God will give you the stamina to handle this blessing. Understand, chosen ones, that this pull is both external and internal. Externally, opportunities will present themselves, maybe a job or a platform you didn't think you were qualified for. Internally, your soul will confirm its time, giving you an unshakable sense of knowing that can't be explained logically. This dual confirmation isn't a coincidence. It's a divine orchestration. It's God's way of guiding you toward the direction you were always meant to take. In this new timeline, you're not limited by your past or by the version of you who thought small. The very fact that you're listening to this right now is proof you're meant for this moment. So embrace the pull. Every day, ask yourself how you can align more fully with this emerging reality. Is it by speaking your truth where you used to remain silent? Is it by stepping out in faith, even when you feel unsure? Whatever it is, do it. The timeline is already here. It's just waiting for you to claim it. Once you do, you'll see how your life transforms in ways that defy all logic. This is your season to move from limitation to elevation, from struggling in one dimension to thriving in another entirely. Chapter 3. Your old triggers are losing power. You used to get rattled by the same old issues. Maybe it was a certain tone of voice that shot your anxiety through the roof, or a family member's snide comment that could ruin your entire day. But now you find that these triggers are losing their power over you. It's not that you don't notice them, it's that you no longer feel compelled to react. This isn't a fluke. It's a sign that God has strengthened your inner man, and your new timeline requires you to stand firm, unmoved by low-level drama. Think about how many times you've tried to fix or control situations that were never yours to fix. You'd get pulled into arguments you didn't start or carry blame that didn't belong to you. But as this final lesson wrapped up, you learned to say enough. It might have felt abrupt. People around you possibly complained that you were suddenly different or distant. In reality, you were just stepping into a healthier state of mind. You recognize that your energy is sacred, your peace non-negotiable. It's as if God placed an invisible shield around you, preventing toxic arrows from piercing your heart the way they used to. This doesn't mean life is now perfect or that you'll never feel pain again. But it does mean you're equipped with discernment and wisdom that you lacked before. When those same old triggers appear, you feel a calm assurance that you know how to handle them. You can choose peace instead of conflict, prayer instead of panic. That's the hallmark of someone transitioning timelines. The drama that used to swallow you whole is now barely a whisper in your mind. And that's because you're not vibrating on the same level as before. Your frequency has shifted, aligning more closely with God's plan and less with the chaos of your past. People might test you, hoping to bait you back into the same fights or the same insecurities. Let that be confirmation of how far you've come. Instead of responding with the same old script, you respond with grace, or you don't respond at all. That confusion they exhibit is testament to your growth. You're no longer feeding that cycle, and it leaves them with no choice but to see you in a different light or leave your life entirely. Either way, you're free. You've learned the lesson. You can't control the outside world, but you can master your inner state. So when you notice that you're not triggered by what used to send you spiraling, give thanks. That's not luck. It's a result of the spiritual work you've been doing, the prayers you've cried out, the soul searching you've braved. Recognize this milestone for what it is. Evidence you're ready for more. If you can weather those old storms with newfound strength, imagine how unstoppable you'll be in the next phase of your journey. Every trigger you overcome is one less weight holding you to the past. Without those chains, you can jump timelines with a speed and grace you never thought possible. Chapter 4. You must release what clings to your old identity. You survived the lesson, but something is tugging at you to revert to your old ways. Maybe it's old habits you picked up in childhood, or the comfort of routine that keeps you from fully embracing this fresh start. Realize that clinging to the past, even unknowingly, can hold you back from the blessings God is unveiling right now. Sometimes it feels easier to slip back into familiar patterns, partying every weekend, procrastinating on crucial tasks, or staying silent to avoid conflict. But your new timeline demands you shed these outdated layers, like a snake sheds its skin. Think about the stories you tell yourself about who you are. I've always been timid. I never succeed in relationships. I'm just not good with money. Those might have defined you once, but they no longer serve who you are becoming. If you insist on wearing that identity, it will color every decision you make and keep you from growing. That's why God is urging you to leave these self-defeating narratives behind. Yes, it can be scary. When you've lived with a certain belief for so long, it feels like part of you. But there's a difference between what you've carried and who you truly are. Letting go might mean having tough conversations with friends, with family, or even with yourself. It means acknowledging that certain relationships or routines are rooted in the old version of you. The new you is still forming, still discovering just how vast and powerful God made you to be. It's okay to feel uneasy in this transition. After all, you're stepping into uncharted territory. But ask yourself, which is more uncomfortable, temporarily feeling uncertain as you leap forward, or remaining in a place you've outgrown until it stifles every spark of potential inside you? Releasing what clings to your old identity is not an act of betrayal against your past. It's an act of honoring the future that calls you. You're not negating everything you've been through. In fact, you're integrating the lessons, taking the best of who you were, and blending it with the vision of who you're becoming. This is a sacred process, one that requires courage. But chosen ones don't cower in fear when a new path appears. They heed the call, knowing God wouldn't bring them to this threshold without equipping them to cross it. So, do a gut check. What are you still holding on to? Is it a story of unworthiness? A fear of abandonment? A habit that numbs your pain but keeps you stuck? Identify it, confront it, let it go. Make a conscious decision. I release this in the name of growth and destiny. You'll feel the shackles of your old identity loosen, replaced by a liberating sense of possibility. This is how you prepare to jump timelines. By releasing the old, you make room for the new frequency, the new environment, and the new relationships that are aligned with your rising energy. You clear the path for a life that mirrors the royalty God always intended for you. Chapter 5. Your faith activates quantum shifts. You might wonder how all this talk about new timelines and major lessons ties into your faith. The answer is simple. Faith is the spark that ignites the quantum shift. Without faith, you might see glimmers of change but never fully harness its power. With it, you open the floodgates of possibility. Faith isn't wishful thinking. It's a deliberate choice to trust God's word over what your eyes can see. It's knowing, deep in your bones, that even if your situation looks barren now, a bountiful harvest is on its way. You've witnessed stories of people who had nothing, no resources, no connections, no logical reason to hope, and yet they catapulted into unimaginable success. If you peel back the layers of their journey, you'll find unwavering faith at the core. They refuse to let external circumstances dictate their belief in a higher promise. That's the kind of faith you need to tap into right now. The moment you decide that God's plan is bigger than your current environment, you align yourself with miraculous shifts that can happen in the blink of an eye. But let's be real. Faith is tested in the waiting period. It's easy to feel confident when you first catch a glimpse of your future. The real challenge is holding on to that conviction when everything seems to be falling apart. That's precisely the crucible God uses to refine your faith. If you maintain your belief through the storms, you emerge on the other side with a testimony strong enough to move mountains in someone else's life. That's the kind of ripple effect you create when you stand firm in what you know to be true rather than what your temporary circumstances suggest. When you awaken to your authority as a chosen one, you realize that faith isn't passive, it's active, alive, and constantly shaping your experiences. You use faith to speak life over dead situations, to see a way where none seems possible, and to keep marching forward even when your emotions beg you to retreat. Each time you exercise this type of radical trust, you're building a spiritual momentum that accelerates your timeline jump. It's like your spirit gets lighter, more capable of transcending the limited dimension you've been stuck in. So stir up your faith. Read the promises God has for you, meditate on them, declare them aloud, and let them saturate your thoughts. The negativity in your environment might try to drown out that voice of truth, but persistence will prevail. Soon you'll realize that despite the odds, solutions show up out of nowhere. Finances materialize unexpectedly, and healing begins where doctors saw no hope. These are not coincidences. They're quantum leaps initiated by your faith. When you partner with God, you're no longer restricted to linear progress. You can skip levels entirely. This is how chosen ones shift from learning a hard lesson to standing in a brand new reality in what feels like an instant. Chapter 6. You're unlocking doors to action. Faith without action is stagnant energy. Right now, doors stand ready to open, but the handle turns only when you move. If you sense a nudge, start a venture, reach out, or create something new. This is your green light. God won't force you through. You must step up and open the door yourself. There comes a point in every journey when you can't stay in the realm of theory. You must leap, even if it feels risky. Heroes in every story face uncertainty or danger before their reward. Now you're equipped with fresh lessons, resilience, and spiritual authority. You're not walking alone. Action can be a life-changing call, an investment in yourself, or quitting a draining situation. Even small steps, rearranging your space, or adjusting your routine, can spark massive shifts. The universe echoes your effort. Purposeful action returns amplified results. Many get stuck overthinking, wondering if timing or resources are perfect. But remember how meticulous plans often fall through, and life still progresses. Sometimes it's better to trust that seeds sown in alignment with God's guidance will flourish. Indecision kills more dreams than lack of resources. The instant you move decisively, both spiritual and natural forces rearrange to support you. Momentum is magical. Once you act, you'll see the path is more navigable than you feared. Make today your day of action. Identify one step that resonates with the future calling you. Then take it. No second guessing. No waiting for approval. If you fail, you learn. If you succeed, you soar. Either way, you defeat the paralysis of waiting, which is your destiny's greatest enemy right now. Chosen ones aren't just dreamers. They're doers, fueled by faith. Act boldly and watch God multiply your effort beyond expectation. This is how you launch from life's lessons into a higher timeline where breakthroughs await. Shilu chapter 7. You are ready to quantum leap. Now you didn't endure all this growth just to step on the threshold. The energy is shifting rapidly, and your spirit is alive with anticipation. This quantum leap is unfolding in real time. Sudden, like stepping through a portal where all the pieces finally fit. Yes, challenges remain, but you now have an upgraded blueprint for handling them. God has prepared you in ways you may not yet grasp. Every tear, every late-night prayer, every forced smile in adversity was an investment in this moment. You've been stripped of illusions, reduced to the essence of who you truly are. Now it's time to build on that unshakable foundation. You carry a divine appointment in every cell of your being. When you say yes, you enter a reality that defies logic but overflows with purpose, provision, and power. Look for the signs of this leap: heightened intuition, uncanny synchronicities, or timely arrivals of unexpected helpers. These coincidences confirm your path as it unfolds. You'll find that what once drained you now fuels you, and distant dreams become surprisingly accessible. Stop questioning whether you deserve this new season. You were chosen for reasons beyond human understanding. This leap is your inheritance, one not by perfection, but by daring to believe in a grander story for your life. Embrace it wholeheartedly, without self-sabotage or apology. Watch blessings cascade like dominoes, touching every area of your existence. Pause and sense your spirit. That stirring you feel is confirmation. The old you is fading, while the new you steps forward in boldness. Declare aloud, "I'm ready to quantum leap now." Speak it until your mind and circumstances align. This isn't wishful thinking, it's a spiritual law. When a chosen one decides they're ready, heaven and earth unite to bring it forth. Will you walk through that doorway or linger on the threshold? You've come too far to turn back. Step forward, chosen one. Your new path begins here and now. Your past battles have shaped you, but they do not define you. Every challenge has prepared you for this pivotal moment. Trust in the divine process. The door is open, and it's time to take your leap. By choosing to move forward, you set powerful forces into motion, aligning with your destiny. Step into your rightful place without hesitation. The only question is whether you will seize this moment or stay on the sidelines. Choose freedom. The future you've long prayed for is finally within your grasp.